Hello, and welcome to part 2 of this episode of the Garden of Earthly Blights. I'm still your host Reese, and again with the help of Tony and Louisa, we'll be completely giving up on Pretty, because Mitski told us to. Where we last left off, we had just listened to Your Best American Girl by Mitski, and were discussing what its lyrics meant to us. In this part, we will be continuing with Mitski's music, and further discussing the lyrics she uses. We hope you enjoyed this part as much as you undoubtedly did the first. I think we're ready to move on to our next song. And our next song is Brand New City, of course, by Mitski.
Oh, 1, 2, honey, what's your take? I think my brain is rotting in places. I think my heart is ready to die. I think my body is cooling in pieces. I think my blood is passing me by. But if I gave up on being pretty, I wouldn't know how to be alive. I should move to a brand new city and teach myself how to die. Honey, what's your take?
So, this song, I think it's so like, if you listen to the whole thing, it's very like punky, quite rocky. It's good to just, I don't know, speak in a real way, but like have it be like, in a vulnerable way, but have it be quite a strong sounding song, which I think Mitski does very well. And I really like that. So she had the lyric, if I gave up on being pretty, I wouldn't know how to be alive. I should move to a brand new city and teach myself how to die. And Mitski put out a tweet around this time, kind of, I think, relating to this song. And she wrote, lately realized my long obsession with beauty is a symptom of trauma and being powerless. And the one way I saw women gain power was through beauty. And so, you know, moving to a brand new city, and teaching herself how to die it means like, you know, teaching herself to not be pretty anymore and be okay with that. And give up the power that she thought she saw in being pretty and stepping into like this, you know, I'm powerful without having to be pretty. She's letting go of the beauty. She's moving on with her life, essentially as a new person in a new city where no one knows her. And then, rejecting this standard that feels like she has to conform to. And I think that's a really nice message. But it's so like teaching myself how to die, like it's so dramatic. And if that's one thing about Mitski, she's gonna be dramatic.
Oh yeah.
But as she should.
But it is true that like weaponizing your beauty in a way can be like a survival strategy. It does dictate so much of your presence in the world, and not just in a way that is subjective, but like very much your conditions to live, your employment, your possibilities. So
I saw a headline, didn't bother to read the newspaper. But it was saying how there's like a wage gap between thin and fat, larger. Sorry, I don't know what we're saying now.
Sorry. I think we should be able to say fat because we can say thin.
I think we should take
skinny.
away the power of fat. But either way, the size of the woman dictates.
I think I did see this too.
The success that she's able to
garner.
Yeah.
So in a very real socio-economic way, like beauty is power.
Yeah, but then it's futile to think about it. Like, honestly, fuck you. You can't win.
And honestly, and it's like, this like such a transient kind of notion and so subjective, is having so much power on women in a way that it doesn't have on men.
Well, on that, I wanted to talk about, I had some thoughts on femininity, masculinity, patriarchy, all that. And I'm interested to hear what you guys think. So I have patriarchy hates femininity. It's used to put boys or men down who aren't masculine enough, i.e. calling them girls, saying, oh, why are you acting like a girl? You're not masculine enough. But it's revoked when people find power in it, and notably trans women, who are perceived as men by, you know, some people. And I think it's, and also for women too, when they present too femininely, they're vilified for that too. And the Barbie movie, if you guys have seen it, I think deals with that too. It talks about being a bimbo and redefining what that means. And there's been a whole movement on social media about redefining what being a bimbo means and it being an empowering term. Which, if I could shed some light on it, by the way, bimbo, of course, used to be a term for men. It was a term for dumb, what it is for women, but for men, basically. And you're being, like, brutish men was, like, the way that they explained it. And I think it has, like, Italian origins, which means, in Italian, a form of it means baby, or something like that. And then it got used for men, and then in America, it was repopularized in the 80s, I think, as a term for women, dumb, over-sexualized, blonde women. And I just think that's crazy how that came from that and went to put that used to being put women down. But I think genuinely the patriarchy hates femininity, unless I have a thing here. Toxic masculinity and patriarchy only accepts femininity if it can be controlled, owned, or used for sexual gratification, and only then if it is to their idealized and perfected notions of it, i.e. norms and stereotypes. And the other side to that is if femininity is hated, then masculinity is loved. And so the only way that men can really feel love is for other men and other masculine things. But you can't show that love for other men, because that's gay. God or forbid. Yeah, that's feminine.
Fuck.
So it's imposed by this institution of toxic masculinity on women and non-men, but it is also felt by men because they are unable to show that affection to other men and have to come up with other ways to show it, like aggressive handshakes and pats on the backs and things like that. And so it's like causing damage to themselves in their own controlling way, and that's what I think the Barbie movie was also trying to get at. Yeah, I don't know, what do you guys think about that? Patriarchy hating femininity.
I recently saw this exhibition of Lisa Bryce, who's an amazing artist, and she had a kind of, I want to say replica, but I mean, she changed the elements but kept the composition of quite a famous Manet painting of the lady sitting behind the bar. Tony, I'm going to get you to pronounce the name because the beauty of your accent.
Bar Folie Belge.
Thank you. That one. And in the original image, obviously, this woman is like, you know, shown as something, another thing behind the bar that is available for consumption.
I haven't seen this.
And in Lisa Bryce's version, I mean, she looks a lot at the experiences of sex workers in different contexts, and the woman is turned, has her back turned to the viewer, is aware of the viewer in like a confronting way, as opposed to like a peaceful, passive gaze. And she's like holding her ass up. And it's amazing, and that the whole bar is then changed to only have women, and some of them are like hanging from poles, and some of them are just like hanging out. It's a whole like the kind of party you want to be invited to. But it's just the idea that like vulgarity or like femininity is only an issue when it's claimed by women, and when you're aware of it, when you can confront someone with it, when it's empowering, when it can be empowering, and then nudity is only redeemable through the eye of the man, in this case the male artist. or when the woman is not aware of it, when you're being a voyeur, when she's being,
well, the agency's taken away from her and the consent.
So I mean, that is a big
That's insane
inversion of values.
I find so interesting is that painting. Again, this is something I've always kind of tried to figure out, but you know how I'll show you it later, you've definitely seen it, but in the mirror, so it's kind of mathematically impossible, and Manet was always kind of reviled by the Academy for making like mathematically impossible compositions, because she's facing like out, like flat out to the spectator. But in the mirror, the mirror supposedly is parallel to her, but it's reflecting her from an angle. And in that angle, you see a man in dark clothing, kind of like behind the bar, obviously, presumably about to pay for something. Sorry, Reese's beautiful cat. Hey, Ninja!
She's being very inquisitive.
She's so cute. I've been staring at her for like a good 5 minutes. But now with your kind of insight with
Lisa Bryce.
Lisa Bryce. I don't know, it's completely changed my opinion of this man. Well, it never changed my opinion. I didn't know what I thought of this guy. But now I'm like, fuck this guy. No, you're not getting a drink. Sling your egg. Like, yeah. And I don't know. Anyway, I gotta think some more about that.
That's like nice imagery. I've not seen it, but I'm like imagining it. And
we can put it up on the pod as well.
It's a really pretty painting.
We should. But I just think I tried to speak to someone about this a little while ago, about men only being able to love other men truly and see them as non-sexual objects, because I think a part of that love that straight women have for women is I mean, sex is a big part of it, and I mean, relationships in general, like sex is a big part of a lot of relationships, not all, but a lot. And the only genuine love men can have, where their love for someone is not dependent on the other person's ability to gratify them in some way. It's just respect and seeing you for who you are. Only straight men are able to have that, and men with toxic masculinity are only able to have that with other men whose views of masculinity are toxic as well. That's the only true love they can have. And
I mean, there's a long history of that, though.
Yeah.
In ancient Greece, like, the philosophers believed that, like, love is between two men.
Yeah.
And because women didn't really have brains, and so, like, you can't...
Y'all only just got them, like, last week, right?
Like, just got the new update.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so it's, like, it's certainly not unique to our... Well, perhaps it's unique to Occidental culture. I can't speak for... other parts of the world, but yeah, men loving men is tale as old as time. And it's sad, like, patriarchy is so damaging to everyone, and it's like, why are we perpetuating it? Who's winning, really?
Well, capitalism for one. That's that book I wanted to bring up, The Beauty Myth, about how like women get salaries, they get money. Where does the money need to go now? Cosmetics. Plastic surgery. God forbid that you accumulate enough to be actually independent. So you just have enough to cover your own costs to make yourself more desirable. And then you're constantly like wasting time, wasting energy, wasting your consumer power on this idea of beauty. And not that it doesn't affect men. I think there's also, of course, beauty standards affect us all, but like the expectation that should be a central value in your life, right?
I think that idea of what you said about not being independent, that does affect men, because they feel like they have to be the sole breadwinner and everything has to fall on their shoulders, and that is another impact of it. And I think we are becoming aware of those sort of things, and things with like maternity and paternity leave, that's becoming more of a thing, but it's still not quite accepted. And like, you know, if there is the mother is able to take maternity leave and the man wants to, the employer might be like, well, why doesn't your wife just do it? Or like, I've heard things of that, like people saying like, you know, it's not really an accepted thing everywhere around the world where men can take paternity leave. And it hurts everyone. It doesn't help anyone. And
abolish it is what we're saying.
Abolish the patriarchy.
We're tired.
We're tired of it. Yeah, I don't know how we're going to get there, and that feels like such a mammoth task to undo.
Yeah.
But hopefully people will share this podcast enough, and that will change everyone's mind.
And we'll fix the problems for
We
you.
will. I think we've got time to move on to one last song.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
This is our final song, and it is Liquid Smooth by Mitski.
I love this one.
I'm beautiful, I know, 'cause it's the season. But what am I to do with all this beauty? Biology, I am an organism, I'm chemical, that's all, that is all. I'm liquid smooth, come touch me too, and feel my skin is plump and full of life. I'm in my prime, I'm liquid smooth, come touch me too. I'm at my highest peak, I'm ripe, about to fall, capture me.
So Liquid Smooth. Wow, that is a very, I was saying in our break that we had, I was like, I think it is parts of it. There's a big crescendo in the song, and it feels like it embodies female rage to me in a niche way. It's not so outwardly female rage, but a lot of Mitski's songs do that. If you enjoy female rage and getting it out, listen to Mitski. But yeah, I think this is the comparison she makes. I'm liquid smooth, come touch me too, and feel my skin is plump and full of life. I'm in my prime. And then later on, I'm at my highest peak, I'm ripe, about to fall, capture me. There's, again, this comparison of women to fruit and their sexuality to fruit being something to obtain, to take. And only when it's at its peak, its ripest form, is it worth something and good enough.
And bear in mind that is also the briefest phase it's in.
Yeah.
Not the maturing.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
It's such like a narrow view of it, and yeah, this to me is like the pinnacle of Mitski songs about aging as a woman as well, and yeah, it's comparing her to this, it's objectification, and you were saying, Tony, one of the lyrics that you didn't hear was but before this, that line that you would have heard, she says, I am what is it? Biology. I am an organism.
Yeah.
That's all. That is all. And
I don't know. I think in that there is a bit of a reclaiming of sensuality to its like to the sensory, like to describing the smooth like characteristics that aren't necessarily human, like existing
in liquid form.
Existing beyond the gaze that is placed on the human body. I think there is power in that. And yeah, I don't know, I think it's a really like sensual song, and there is that duality of being consumed as fruit but also just existing as a natural thing that doesn't need to be like kept, or that is a bit wild in a way. That's what it makes me think about. Yeah.
It's unkeepable, it's untamable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And okay, again, I don't want to be irritating here.
Irritate them.
Let me irritate Char. But like it gives very much de Beauvoir. And so de Beauvoir, in her, I think her most famous work is The Second Sex. And in it she talks about myths surrounding femininity and womanhood. And one of them is that women are of, nature, while men are kind of meant to aspire, like they're of the brain, basically. Like they aspire, they push us forward.
They drive humanity forwards, yeah.
Except
While
when they rape
women
someone,
can
then
serve.
they're animals.
Then they're animals.
They're animals and they can't help themselves. Yeah. But there's always, because women are kind of leaky and unpredictable, and I feel like female bodies, not necessarily women, but female bodies are in tune with nature in the way that men's aren't, like the 28-day cycle and the cycles of the moon and all that. And again, it's all myth, like we're just people. But yeah, this kind of relationship between women and nature. And then you have like in the Bible where they're like, man should reign over nature. Are women the men, or are we the nature? You know, like this. And also there's so much is coming to my head right now, but so much in the Western canon. There's especially when it comes to like the discovery of the Americas and stuff, like the untamable wild.
Right.
Yeah,
And you know,
seasons,
exactly, and
allegories for
you know, you don't go into the forest because that's where, you know, there's danger, the unknown, you can't control it. And I think in that kind of idea has been vested in the female body, you know, the danger, the unknown, the uncontrollable, and it's kind of led to this, I don't know, attempt at annihilating femaleness, femininity.
Yeah, I agree. What my mind goes to is like the fear around periods, and like how everyone freaks out, and how like for like how like taboo it is to talk about it, even though all female bodies have them. Well, most female bodies have them until a point.
Yeah.
And it's something that half of the world goes through, yet it's something that shouldn't be spoken about.
That's so bizarre.
And you're not able to talk, like if you're in pain or if you're reacting irrationally, you're not allowed to be in pain or react irrationally.
Yeah. I mean, I hate the idea that women act irrationally because of their periods.
Sorry, I didn't mean it in that way.
No, of course not. But like,
they're not hysterical, untamable wild beasts like on their period. That's not what I'm saying.
And the thing is, we are like, we can go through pain and actually just keep it to ourselves, and we do that.
Yeah. But the moment a woman talks about it, it's like, well, try being kicked in the balls, like,
yeah,
you know,
if you didn't do something to deserve being kicked in the balls.
Yeah, you
like
probably
that's
did.
normally like what happens. And yeah, that's so crazy because I'm assuming, I'm gonna need to like find the stats, but I'm assuming like erectile dysfunction doesn't affect that much of the population.
Oh, yeah,
but I could tell you like 3 different brands that you can like go to help.
Right.
But we only just started seeing red in period adverts in like the past 5 years. It's insane. 50% of the population goes through this. If you see a nosebleed on telly, no problems.
Yeah.
But that blood is like on the back of someone's trousers, and like it's disgusting and like unsightly and inappropriate.
Disgusting. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that is like the war on nature, and I don't know. That's again going back to the patriarchy. That's the power that they hold. Yeah, I mean, it's just schooling. I mean, we were never taught about like the female body. I mean, like when you're in primary school, you're segregated into the boys and girls, and you're taught about your respective sexual health. But there was never a big coming together or a big sit down talk later on in the school years where we were taught about the other side of it. And even in secondary school, I remember, so I went to an all boys school, and there was an all girls school just around the corner. The girls were taught about how to put on a condom before we were. At least my class anyway.
Right.
Like, and not a female condom either. And when we were taught it was my biology teacher who ended up having to teach us, and she wasn't meant to, but she was like, you know, when you're taught about how to put the condom on in class, and everyone looked at each other, and we were like, she was like, were you guys never taught? And we looked at her and we said, no, we never had a class on it, and we're this is year 10, so we're 14, 15.
Oh my god.
And we think maybe around that age or a little bit earlier
it's getting ready to impregnate someone.
Yeah, because the thing is, it's happening at that age for some people. 15, 14 sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you should be told before that.
Preferably.
Before that point. And I just remember thinking, like, why is the female body so mystified to us? And why are women expected to be so sexually competent, but, you know, be virgins and be a man's first? And like, there's the whole thing of like the Andrew Tate of it all, and having all your wives and all these girlfriends. Like, if we're in a relationship, I can cheat, but if a woman cheats, like, that's not okay, because she can't separate love from her sexual desires, and she'll always love the man and whatever. Like, it's all of that. I mean, that's a whole rabbit hole that we can, I prefer maybe not to go down. I don't want to talk about that man. But Yeah. Wow.
The idea of existing as an organism feels liberating. In a way, to
like
me.
degendered and deraced and
Sexualized.
yeah, just being.
Yeah.
Liquid smooth.
Liquid smooth. Thank you. Well, I guess kind of on that note, a little something that I wanted to add into this. We had some moments earlier where I could have put it and didn't, but I wanted to tell people. I think some people know this, and other people half know. Like, I do identify as non-binary, and they them pronouns, all that stuff. And I know some people have asked, and I've said like, oh, just he, him is fine, or thanks for asking, but I don't know. And it's been very uncomfortable for me to deal with, and so I just said no, like I don't want to do that. And so for a while I was he, they, because it made me feel okay with people misgendering me. But and also it was like I wasn't ready to just go the full they, them, so I went he, they as like a transitionary. But then I realized at a point I was only upkeeping it because it made me okay when people misgendered me, and I was like, oh, well, I go by he, they, so that's fine. And then that's when I just decided to go full they, them to the dark side. And yeah, so that's me. If you've known me for the last 3 years,
You didn't.
Little did you know.
Little did you know, I've been identifying this way. I've realized this about myself. I don't like to say I've now just suddenly acquired it, but I've realized it's always been there. And I've now realized this about myself probably in 2019. So it's been 4 years, and so there are a lot of you out there who probably don't know that or have seen it and not said anything about it, or I've not said anything about it. No one's fault, just is, and that can be okay, and we can move on. So if you see this, please try to use they, them pronouns.
Don't try to succeed.
You succeed, and if you fail, that's okay. I will try to correct you also, but that's something I struggle with, so I might not, but I'm gonna try to. And yeah, I kind of apologize for not telling you guys, and I don't know, it does make me feel uncomfortable, I will say, especially to the parents if you're watching. It does make me feel like you're talking about another person when you're talking to my face, but don't feel bad about that. That's you did pull me up on it, and I said we're cool with he, him, so we are no longer cool, we are retiring that. And yeah, thank you, Mitski, for singing about a genderless being and being liquid. I kind of want to turn into.
We have one here.
I think I just want to turn into a little cup of liquid sometimes and just slosh about.
I want to
for
be
a
like
bit.
a legume. Like,
ooh,
no,
a bean,
I thought they're
like a
so
vegetable?
impactful. Yeah.
Whoa.
Because like they're also smooth, but they grow and they take nitrogen something. I don't really know.
They're full of little beans inside. That's quite
Yeah.
sweet. That's just you encapsulated. I like that. That's very sweet.
Sorry, I was just gonna go off on one.
No. Well, I wanted to know what songs do you guys resonate with? What lyrics? What would be your top? Whatever you have to say out of her discography that maybe people can listen to.
I had written down "Bug Like an Angel" because I just think it's so beautiful. It just starts with that image of the bug stuck to the bottom of the glass like an angel.
Yeah.
And then she goes on to talk about, I try to remember the wrath of the devil was also given him by God. And I was just like, woof.
Okay.
From something so small to something so like about good and evil more broadly and how we think about the divine. It was just that one really hit me.
Yeah, and by the way, Bug Like an Angel is Mitski's newest single. Go and listen. She just released it, and it's from her upcoming album, which will be released in September, 15th of September maybe.
It's Mitski paying us for this promo.
We'll be writing to her lawyers or her team. We'll be getting in touch, Mitski. Mitsuki, watch out. Keep an eye on that inbox, girl. We'll be hitting you up. No, but yeah. What are you, Tony?
You know what? I think I am gonna have to go with Last Words of the Shooting Star.
Yeah.
I know that's not
Speak on it.
grounds for discovery, as we've already spoken about it, but yeah, I think it was the first Mitski, because I'd gotten into Mitski through Nobody, and then like discovered her discography.
Yeah.
And it was the first one that I was really like, whoa, like words, and it really made me wish I had the songwriting prowess.
Yeah, she makes you think that a lot.
I see that for you.
Yeah.
I've tried, and I'm like, you know, when you like read them back, you're like, oh no,
We're not doing that
We're not
anymore.
doing that.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day we'll release an album that will rival Mitski's.
Yeah, I mean, we have spoken about today talent versus practice.
Effort, I guess.
Effort. Which has nothing to do with anything. I don't know why we're getting into
Food for
that.
thought.
Food for thought. Food for thought.
If I could say my favourite, I mean, a lot of the ones we've spoken about are definitely my top, like in the top somewhere, I think. But one that I can mention, it just has really nice poetry imagery, is a song called Carry Me Out. And this line that really resonates with me is, at night on the rooftop, I untie my hair and watch from my plastic chair as my dark hair unleashes the night. And I just love it. Like, I imagine like the two opposites of this like cheap plastic chair versus this like eternal everything that she's unleashing as she takes down her hair. And I just imagine like she pulls it down from the bun and her hair starts like floating up and the ground falls away and it's just this cheap white plastic chair that she's sitting in and like the stars like around her just envelop her and there's these like big swirling like,
okay, creative director.
that's what I see it and I just love that like her dark hair just like and I think that song as well, when I heard those lyrics, it was quite empowering for me as someone with dark hair, which is very weird to say,
valid,
but like I since 2016 up until like kind of this year, like last year, like August last year, from 2016 to August last year of 2022, I always had dyed hair. I never had natural hair, and that's because I didn't like my natural hair. I was like, I'm like, this dark does not look good. Like, we've got to sort it out, which is so wrong, obviously. And then when I got my natural hair back, I was like,
it's so gorgeous.
I fell in love with it that last summer. And that line that Mitski, I found her after this revelation, and I really like resonated with that. And like, her dark hair unleashes the night. Like, that is so like,
it's again attributing something a lot more like, you know, natural, cosmic, like nuanced to a physical characteristic that we often transform into like amounts, like, you know, things you can get graded on or that can be put into a ranking. It just removes all the beauty and poetry out of it. No, let your hair unleash the night, baby.
And you listener, let your hair unleash the night, please.
I feel like a little yolk of sun melted on my head when I bleach it. You know, it's what I think about. So,
that's nice, shining through that. I like it like a light bulb.
Exactly, yeah, that too. I'm on.
Oh well, thank you guys for having this conversation with me.
Thank you for having us in your
pleasure.
beautiful room.
Yes, to the viewers of this podcast, I hope you like our set. We frantically put it together before you joined us, and we tried to model it from like a 90s bedroom, so we're all in our pajamas, we're having a little sleepover, and we've got some 90s things, so if you have a little look and see on the walls, you might see some nice things, and maybe some of you that know me personally will see something either you've given me or that I've shown you or something like that.
Easter eggs.
Yes, Easter eggs. So yeah, thank you for joining us for our first filmed episode of the Garden of Earthly Blights. And here's to many more. Woo.
Well, that just about does it for the second part of this episode of the Garden of Earthly Blights. Again, a massive thank you to Tony and Louisa for sharing your thoughts with us today, and thank you, listener, for lending us your ears. We'll see you back here in 2 weeks' time, where we'll be getting technical as we talk art, the small screen, AI, and everything in between. We will also be welcoming our first guest to the pod to give us some expert knowledge and ground our ramblings in reality. Until then, catch us at Blighted Garden on Instagram, where we'll be continuing the cycle of posting, and also keep a lookout for the next playlist inspired by this episode. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.